Hello, everybody. This is Dance Without Music. Um, the I'm almost sure it's the fifth or the fourth year. No, not fourth year. I mean fifth or the sixth year because I was going over some things, and it seems like it's in the fifth year. But I'm gonna put sixth year until I check back. Okay, which are both a long time, but six is longer. So I think I have to check that. But anyway, today we're gonna talk about. We're gonna brush up some things that we did from the last thriller instruction or whatever. And we're going to talk about empty space, okay? The true meaning of empty space. Now, I'm going to use that as an example because I grew up with so many different games that we would play. But there was one that is a good example of empty space. And like I said, everything in Dance Without Music is things that we did or familiar with that we haven't thought about, or we just do subconsciously or whatever, but we never think about these things. But what I did is went over everything and I organized it and used it to our benefit. Use it to my benefit, and I want you to use it to your benefit. And it's like a power, like all the other things that we work with. That's why I call them powers, because it's things that the human beings can do, however they don't realize it. Like, for instance, noticing the difference between weight, pressure, tension. And we have all those things that we just take for granted, and we don't know that they can be divided out. But when you use them separately, it's a power, It's just like you have all these things in a box, and it's nothing, and you carry around a box. But then when you open the box and you see all the things that's in it, you can use them, okay? So it's not the, like, power, It's just, like I said, it's a term that I use, because I use different terms that pretty much Americans are very familiar with, because I'm American, And another thing why I say American is because, you have Kung Fu, you have yoga, you have all these other different things that other countries made up. Even algebra, that I use, it was made. I think it's mostly Arabic or something like that, which that I was taught when I was, studying algebra. So all those people are proud that they contributed something to everybody. And now America has Dance Without Music, and I hope everybody opens their arms and takes it. But it's very hard to get people to understand it for now. But I was reading where, how can I say, not algebra, but calculus. Hardly anybody could understand it, and hardly anybody, like a handful of people, were able to conceive of it when it first came out. So hopefully we have something. Okay, now we're talking about empty space, the true meaning of empty space. So I'm going to go back to the game that we had, that we used to play. I'm sorry, excuse me. It was red light, green light. And somebody would be up front, and then you have your participants in the back, okay? So that would be like just your friends. I guess we played with, it had to have been at least 10 people. Every time I played, maybe it was just our brothers and sisters, but we all grew up, we were 7. So around 7 to 10 people, because we play with friends sometimes, but usually has more than 2 people. It's really a nice activity if you have more than 5 people, okay? And so the one person, like, for instance, if I was playing it, I would have the people in front of me right here looking at me, and I would turn around and I would say red light, green light. And when I turned around, if I saw anybody moving, they would be out. Okay, so how does that have to tie in with empty space? Well, what it means is that in order for you to take the steps, you had to think about them. Okay? You had to use your ability to utilize an empty space, something that hasn't happened, but you plan in your function. I'm not going to say mind, okay? Because another thing in dance about music, we don't say anything that's been studied before because this is something new. Okay? So if everything that is new, that when I say new, it hasn't been used before, it hasn't been studied before. So that means that, because even like we call structure, like for instance, structure, we wouldn't say a bone structure, we wouldn't say anything like that. We would say structure, okay? So that means that I'm not going to say anything to do with the mind. I'm going to relate it to dance without music, and I'm going to call it function, okay? It's another term that I'm using. Although, I mean, and it is a function. It's something physical, just like everything else, but it's in a different realm. It's in an action realm that we use all the time that we just take for granted. So now we would do the back to the red light, green light. So now I'm going to get up and I'm going to show you how I use this empty space, and I'm going to relate it to dance without music. So the person is saying red light, green light. I'm planning my move, okay? Just like I would do radicals that I've been studying, okay? So I would plan maybe a step while he's like, and he didn't turn around, or she didn't turn around, and she didn't turn around, but I'm planning each step. Not like in any other game to where you just do it. In red light, green light, you have to use your mind, okay? And then when they would turn around, you have to stop. And then you have to think about your empty space in your function and decide when that person turns around when you're going to make the next step. So they're saying red light, they turned around and I'm stiff. And then they're going to turn back around. And this time I want to take 3 steps. The only way you could win the game is if you have a strategy, a mental strategy. And that mental strategy includes empty space. So they turn around and I say, I'm going to do 3 steps. And I take 3 steps. I could not take those 3 steps if I didn't utilize my empty space. Now, an everyday example would be like, say I had like a townhouse or a small house or whatever, and I forgot my phone. And I have nice roommates, so I'm at work and I borrow somebody's phone, or I use the phone at my desk or whatever, and I call my roommate and I go, you know what? I forgot my phone. I forgot it in the kitchen. I go, no. I didn't forget it in the kitchen. I forgot it in the bathroom. No, I didn't forget it in the bathroom. I remember. Excuse me. I was looking on the living room table and I saw something on TV and I stopped and I put it down on the coffee table. No, I didn't do that. I was looking at the mail in the hallway and the closet was open and I put it on one of the a shelf in the closet. So look there, okay? Now, that person utilized empty space. What is empty space? What can you do with empty space? Well, empty space is something that doesn't contain space, but it's physical and it's concrete. And if you didn't have empty space, there would be no way in the world that you could go from your kitchen, that you could know that it was your kitchen, that it was your bathroom, that it was your dining room table. So it is very concrete. So in order for that person to move from one room to the next, just spontaneously, without even thinking about it, they needed empty space. Okay. Now the reason why it's empty space because you're actually went from room to room. You went through space. If you walked, like for instance, when your roommate was going to walk around to look for your phone, they had to physically go through the space in the townhouse to find it. But you told them where it was in the hallway, in the closet, on the shelf. So they have to use physical space. I mean, not empty space, space that is not empty, filled space, regular space, and walk to get to your phone and say, oh, I got it, okay? So that's empty space, okay? So in empty space, what are you allowed to do? In empty space, you're able to go from one point to the next just automatically. There's no space. So that means you can go from your kitchen to your living room table to your bathroom and to the hallway and in the closet on the shelf, okay? So that's what we call empty space. We use it all the time, but in Dance Without Music is very important. So how is it important with Dance Without Music? Now we're going to talk about the radicals. The radical, excuse me, remember we have radical 4. We worked with radical 4, we worked with radical 9, we worked with radical, I guess 16, 25, that's the one we started in the beginning, I think, yeah. Okay, and then we have a 36, I think that's true, okay, because I'm doing this real quick. I don't have time to check, but I'm almost sure 36 is, yeah, radical 36. Okay, so we have all those radicals and it's space, okay? But because it's in a function, it's empty space, okay? It's empty space. However, we utilize the space that we have that's not empty space. They go hand in hand, okay? So the empty space and the space go hand in hand. So I'm trying to make it to where I don't go off and too far, but keep it very basic in the beginning so you can hold on to the concept. Okay, now I'm going to show you an example as far as the things that we're using, and then we're going to brush up on some of the things that we talked about before. So now we have radical 4, you know about empty space. I brought it up, and remember home. The reason why we make certain rules is so that we can understand it better, and it makes more concrete concepts, okay? When I say concrete, I mean you're able to ponder it, okay? So remember a home. Every radical has a home, and that's usually in one corner, okay? And I remember I could go from corner to corner in a radical by just turning, okay? Okay, you remember that that's in another former YouTube, okay? And so now we have radical 4. Now, because I have an empty space, and remember, this is the home. So if I'm at home and I'm in radical 4 or radical 9, the home of radical 9 is the same home of radical 4. All the homes are the same. It's in one corner. You have to go in the back and look at the radicals. It just, So I have to say in the beginning, this is, I try to explain as much as I can, because I came to the conclusion that I have to explain as much as I can, because there's new people who don't understand what's going on. But I'll try and do the best I can, but the best part is to start from the beginning and you have to work your way up. That's the only negative, not negative, but the downside of this dance without music is you have to start from the beginning. And like I said, the reason why you start from the beginning is because the concept, people don't realize, but concepts and understanding something is a very physical thing as far as the function is concerned. Remember, I can't use mind, I have to say function is concerned, okay? Because I'm telling you the exact truth and the perfect thing, the perfect way as far as dance without music is concerned. I can't relate to other curriculums or other specialties, but this is my specialty. So now, let's use empty space. Okay, now, so if I'm in Radical 4, I can switch to each corner. Remember when I said I go like this in Radical 4, or no, I think it was in Radical 9. If I'm like this and I turn here, I actually change my corner that I'm at. It's a phenomenon, but we're not going to get into that. We talked about that before. But now we're going to be Radical 4, and we're going to, I think I can actually do this. No, I'm going to keep standing up. Now I'm going to go to each corner of Radical 4 with just an empty space. And it's, you'll see. If you look at my face, you could probably tell. So I'm in 1. I'm going to go to this one over here. Okay, now it's switched. And then I'm going to move around. I'm in the next one. And I'm in the next one. Okay? So I'm going to do it again. I'm in one corner. I switch to the next corner. I switch to the next corner. And I switch to the next corner. Okay? So, you see that. So, that's Radical 4. Now, I'm going to go to Radical 9. Put up Radical 9. That's another thing too. The whole Radical 9. Then after this, I want to make something clear about some characteristics of the radicals. I can tell you right now, each radical is a place, okay? It's a place that we all can obtain. Like I said, Radical 4. Radical 4 is a place. It's just like you go to a city, or you go to a state, or you go to a mall, or you go to a store. Well, every place that you go to has characteristics. Well, the Radical 4 has characteristics too, because the way I move from one corner to the next. And I could only, and we don't use numbers, but I could only do it 4 times. I could do it 1, I could do this time, I could do this time, I could do this time. And it has 4 corners. So each space is in a corner. And then I'm going to tell you about the importance of a square, of the square, which is Radical 1 that you move around in. Okay, so I laid down a lot of good points. Okay, so now we're talking about the differences in each place. So now I'm going to go to a Radical 9. I have the Radical 9. The function created the Radical 9 for me. I'm in home base, okay? Now, the one thing about Radical 9 is it has a center. One center, okay? To where all the other spaces is surrounding it. So I already put myself into that center. Now I put myself, and I can get like this in the center. So I'm just getting in the center of the screen. It has nothing to do with the radical I'm in. So I'm in Radical 9, and I'm in the center. So that's a characteristic of that place. However, it also is bigger. It gives me more space. And however, it also has, I don't like to say numbers, but I'll say 3 for people who, just to make it more interesting. So another thing, so if I'm going to move in Radical 9 again, I'm going to move back 1, and I just did, okay? So another characteristic of Radical 9 is that I can go like this, because you know where I'm at now, and then I could go like this, and then I could go like this, okay? And then I could go back, and I could go back. So that's the 3 in the center right right there. That's a characteristic of radical 9. Okay. So now, where can I go from here? I'm going to jump from radical 9, and I'm going to go into using my empty space. Okay, empty space, but I have to create the empty space. That's another thing, you create it. The function creates an empty space. So let's create radical 16. I already did it. I didn't go into, okay, I'm in radical 16. So, but I'm actually in a line because I was in the center of radical 9, but radical 16 doesn't have a center. I mean, it has a line in the center. So I'm going to move over to the home base. Now I'm at the home base, okay? Now the funny thing about radical 16 is that it has 4 radical, it has, when I'm using numbers because just for interest, okay, but we don't really use numbers here. It has 4 radical 4s. So for this, and this is going to end this segment, I'm going to move from each radical 4. There's 4 radical 4s in radical 16. So I'm in 1 at the home base, and now I'm going to come back to the home base. So I'm going all the way around and come back to the home base using my empty space. So I'm at the home. Now I'm at the next, which is in front, radical 4 in radical 16. Now I jumped over to the other radical, radical 4 in radical 16. However, I'm at a home base in the radical 4, if I want to say that. And now I'm going to jump back, go back, and now I'm into the other radical 4 in radical 16, and then I'm going to go back to the home base of radical 16, which I'm at right now. Okay, so now that finishes that. Now I want to finish some things that we did in the Michael Jackson Thriller dance. I'm just going to brush up some things. You remember when we crossed over like this, okay, and we talked about this, but in the dance you have to cross over like this, okay? Now, first, how can I say that? Okay, first I want to talk about the ability, or because it is a empty space. No, I'm not going to say that. Forget about, we're not going to go that way. We're going to talk about the space, but I'm not going to, I don't want to talk anymore about empty space. I just want to talk like we did before, because I want to explain something about the radicals, okay? So, in the space of the radical, remember now we're just talking, what is it that makes them so, can I say peculiar, or nice, or functional? How can I put it? I don't know how to put it, but I'm going to explain it to you. What is it that makes it so unique? The square. I'm just talking about a square, okay? But we don't know how it's going to end up, because now the function, we're in the function and we're synchronizing it with the fact that from the beginning we always dealt with steps. Even when we were just talking just now, I was talking about steps, okay? And when we talk about steps, we're talking about different spaces in the radical. But remember, when I walk, I'm like this, okay? So I'm in these squares, like, but we don't know how it's going to end up, because the function is going to synchronize with the concept, that the fragile concept of squares. However, square, what does it give us? What is it unique? What is so unique about a square? Well, the uniqueness is in a square, first of all, in a Radical is it's a place. So if it has a place, it has a location. So we have a radical 4. It has a place. It's a place, and it has 4 other places. Okay. So, but we don't want to say it's a place is inside a place. We would have to say location. Okay. So it has 4 other locations. So we have to be able to how can I say? We have to be able to not transport. I don't want to say transport. We have to be able to transport. I don't want to say transport, but it seems like that's the only word I'm coming up with. Travel, something like travel. We have to travel from one location to the next. So when we travel, in order to travel, you need distance, you need space, okay? Because if I'm in radical 1, I can't move, okay? I can't, there's nothing I can do. I can't, so far as I know, as far as we are right now. So I'm in radical 4, I have more, I can relax a little bit. It's kind of small too though. But how do I get from one place to the other? Well, there's instructions. Where are the instructions? So let's go to radical 9. I'm in radical 9. I'm at the home base. Now I'm going to go to the center, okay? The center of radical 9. I'm in the center of radical 9. I know that there's locations all around me. There's one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. How do I get to each location? Well, that's the uniqueness of a square. It has directions. Now, one of the things that utilizes directions the most, which is the control moves, but control has the precise direction, okay? But you still need an energy, and the energy that we use is hydrogen X. That's what I call it, okay? It has to be called something. It has to be something interesting, and it's so unique and it's very powerful. So I call it hydrogen X. I know that it's separate from a lot of other things. I've divided all these things out. So we're going to use the hydrogen X, but I can't talk about the control yet. That one's unique in itself, but it's not a lesson about that. So the square was saying it has a function in the square. The function that it has, or its uniqueness, is the fact that it has directions. Okay, so we can go. The square has this direction. It can go this way. It has a door that way. It has a door this way. It has a door this way. And it has a door this way. Those are directions, okay? And that coincides with, I don't want to say the control, or I guess the control, or like we were talking about, the control. No, I can't use control because control is something that happens in order to achieve something. So I have to say hydrogen X, because without hydrogen X, you can't lift. I'm 160 pounds. The only way I can lift that is by hydrogen X. Okay, it's no kinetic energy. It's a mind. No, I can't say mind. It's the energy from the function. Okay. Okay, one example of hydrogen X is like when you're chewing or when you're eating, it's pretty strong. And you ever wonder, like when you bite your tongue, which I bite my tongue sometimes when I'm eating or something, especially it's like that when because I'm missing some teeth, so it's kind of hard. So sometimes I end up biting my tongue sometimes. So when you bite your tongue or something, you can see the power of the hydrogen X. And you say, how in the world? But anyway, so that's what's going to get us. So we have direction. And the direction, we're not going to talk about empty space now because that's just something we have to handle later. So now we're talking about the direction. So why am I talking about direction? Because we talked about it in the Michael Jackson dance, okay? So now we're going to go back to, now that you know that the square gives us the chance to, it gives us doors, places to go, okay? That's how the square is. If I'm in radical 4, I can go here, and remember, you can't cross over. That's another time, okay? There's no cross. A lot of people don't, a lot of intelligence, mathematics and everything, they don't realize a lot of things. And this is one thing that they don't realize, is the fact that the radical 4 is a radical 4. If it wasn't unique, how can I say it? It can do what radical 4 does, but you can't go to another radical and say, I want radical 16 to do what radical 4 does. Because if 16 does what radical 4 does, that means that they're the same thing, okay? So you kind of got to get out of the, like for instance, like radical, they try and, you have to make a solution for radical 2, okay? What's, what's the solution to radical 2 or something like that? I've seen it in mathematics. But is it really a solution? I mean, like, why can't it just be radical 2? You know what I mean? So radical 4 is radical 4, and radical 2 is radical 2, and dance without music. So I'm talking about just dance without music. So now, I just wanted to express that. I wanted to express that point, is that pretty much when you talk about dance without music, pretty much it's final, okay? Until you get the sense of something else. When you get the sense of something else, then you can go further. But pretty much what I say, if I say radical 4, I know what I'm talking about. A radical 16, don't try and make more out of it. If you try, that's one reason that would stop me in algebra, because I tried to make more out of something that, I'm sorry, excuse me, that I didn't understand, and I couldn't even understand because I don't even understand what I was doing. So why didn't I just say, okay, if they say this, just follow that and learn that, and then wait until you can get a better knowledge. So I'm saying keep your mind focused. So when I say something, because most likely it doesn't go to all circumstances. Like for instance, I'm saying that because I'm saying that radical 4, you can only move, and I'm going to use more terms from, Dance Without Music. You can move, how did I put that? Coordinates. You can move Y coordinates, you can move X coordinates. Y, you can move X, and you can move Z, okay? But you cannot do that yet, okay? I don't know, because we're not there. That's something totally different, okay? And I'm also saying that if you could, then it wouldn't be a radical, okay? Because a radical is a square, meaning, as far as Dance Without Music, you move what the direction of the square lets you move, okay? When we come to a point where when it's more, then we could do more. But right now, that's the way we move, okay? So anyway, and this I don't think it's going to be as long as the last one. So anyway, let's get through this, and then I'm going to finish this. So I said one time, another thing that I wanted to clear, the direction. So now I told you that because now you know, and because of the radical, we can actually turn, okay? before we learned about the radical, we would just say you go like this and you go like this, okay, and you turn, okay. But this time you know that you're turning in a place, you're turning to a location. So if I'm right here and I go like this, I know that I turned in another location because the square has this opening and has this door. So it gives you a more precise feeling of turning, okay? And there's no like this. You don't turn from here to here, okay? Because then it's something different. It's something different. Okay, so now we're just dealing with radicals and squares. So if I turn, I'm going to turn like this. So another thing I said, you put your foot like, we don't say feet. Okay, we're in quadrant. We're in the natural quadrant. Okay, and it's called other things, the natural quadrant. And then we want to turn, okay? And now we know turning is a location, okay? We're turning toward another location, okay? So I said that you just go like this, which it has to be cleared up a little bit. So you put your, you put the, the hydrogen X, because this is hydrogen X. You see me moving the foot. It's going because I'm saying it in my mind. And you got to get to this point where you can see it, to see how it's connected. No, don't say mine. How it's connected with the function, okay? But I don't want to, like I said, we can't turn that way. So when we turn, we have to go like this, okay? We have to go forward. So when I say forward, it's only, I can write it down and everybody would understand if I'm in a quadrant, because if I'm in the other quadrant, if in the natural quadrant, you know when I say move the hydrogen X, or I can say the control moves the hydrogen X, or like that. I'm not really concentrating on that. And I move it forward, it's only one way, because I said oh boy, I'm getting tired, but let me see if I can do this. The quadrant, okay, because I'm getting tired, so I have to finish pretty soon. So if I say the quadrant, okay, this is better. Forget about the hydrogen X and everything. The quadrant moves forward, okay? So if I go like this, the quadrant wants to move forward. The quadrant moves forward. That means that the quadrant is everything here, okay? Everything, the whole structure. If I go like this, the quadrant has already moved forward, okay? And then because it's all one, okay, the quadrant has already moved forward. So now if I want to, I said I want to turn, okay, and we got to figure out how I'm going to say it, because we don't use left and right. But I'm saying if I'm in a let's see, quadrant 9. I'm in quadrant. Not quadrant 9. I'm in radical 9, and I want to turn, and I'm at home. So that's the only way I can turn, would be that way. So that clears up, and you have to think like that, okay? So now I'm going forward. I move forward, and then I want to turn. Now remember, this time I'm going to explain something to you. I want to turn into quadrant, the natural quadrant. And this is clearing up something from last time also, because if I turn into, I stay in the same quadrant. But I remember when I talked about that, you had to know about the other video that I did before this. So I'm going to turn into quadrant. I'm going to turn into the natural quadrant, okay? And I turn. That's one thing I told you that there was a term that I forgot about the term, but I knew how to do it, but I forgot about the term. So the term that I was talking about, and you had to have listened to the last video on this, the term I was talking about is called using, okay? I know this is kind of going really quick for you, but if you follow everything, you'll understand. So you can also use, because I was saying you could turn into the natural quadrant, you could turn into the between quadrant, and you could turn into the other quadrant, okay? Those are three ways you could turn, okay? But I was saying I didn't know how to, because I forgot the term about using. Using is when you go like, and this is going to be important in the dance also. It's just one point that I want to clear up also, okay? Oh, there's another point too. I'm going pretty quick, but if you're really sharp, you understand what you can follow me, okay? There's one thing I want to clear up. There's something called an impact, which is a new term, and because it's being brought to me by the way everything is developing in my structure, is that I found out that there's an impact, okay? An impact is we don't believe in gravity here, but it's so in everybody's mind. I can't explain it. I have to say weight, and if there's a whole video things on gravity, there's a whole video thing, but I don't say anything about gravity in any of the titles, okay? So, there's an impact, which when I say that, I have to talk about this, okay? And then, because I don't have that much battery time. So, the impact is something, it's a new term, and then I'm going to go back here, but you can follow me. The impact, and the reason why I didn't know it, if you understand how understanding is, I explained it to you in other videos how understanding works. When you develop, when you condition, and now I'm conditioned for the impact. Before I knew it was there, but I wasn't conditioned. So now when I'm walking, the weight that falls, I sense the weight that falls. I know where it's going. And then I can see the hydrogen X and the control working toward like this. It's like this, okay? So the weight falls and it goes like this. It's certain like this, okay? So if it falls and then I got it like this. So it's like, this is the weight. It comes down, it falls, and okay, the weight falls, okay, and then the weight falls, and then the hydrogen X takes it and moves it. So I'm going to do this for you, okay? Okay, the weight falls and hydrogen X goes like that, okay? Okay, so now you got the concept. The reason why I went over that is because when we turn, we have to think about that also. So now getting back there, okay, we have to close pretty soon. So now, my natural quadrant is going forward, okay? And remember, if it's going forward, the natural quadrant is on here, the weight is here. So this cannot go forward. So if a natural quadrant goes forward, it has to be like this. If a other quadrant goes forward, it has to be like this. Okay. So now but now we're talking about an impact. So in order to make a term, we need the impact. Okay. So like I said, if we turn in around, I'm going to turn in a natural quadrant, okay? I'm going to turn in the natural quadrant. Okay, so I'm going to do it. Okay, now, I did it in the natural quadrant. Now, what takes the impact is the part of the quadrant that went forward, okay? But when I say use, I can actually say, this is better clearing it up. It's saying I utilized or I used the other quadrant. I used the other quadrant in order to turn into a natural quadrant. You can use the other quadrant. So when I go like this, I'm using the other quadrant. Okay? Okay, and remember this. So we remember this. And we're just working with another thing too, just to clear this up. I went like this. We know the experience that we talked about. Okay, that's the first part. Then it goes faster. Okay? And then it goes. Let me see. Something like that, okay? Now the reason why, okay. All right, let me see. Actually, it happens naturally. The reason why I didn't put that in it is because we haven't gotten that far. And you cannot do this in Dance Without Music without knowing exactly what you're doing. And we're down here, we're right here, like right now. And most likely it seems like it's gonna go up. But when you go like this, and I tell you in the beginning, when we did that in the beginning, I said, don't even mess with it. So we're not gonna do that until we know. I mean, like, I can see some things that happen, but it's all of this movement. So we're not worrying about that. So I'm just clearing that one up. So anyway, we're here now. And we're gonna we utilize, we use. So this is a use, remember. This is a use. Whenever you go like this, if you're in the right quadrant, the natural quadrant, and you go like this with the weight here, you're using, so that's the term, you're using the other quadrant, not like it's the other quadrant, that's the name of the quadrant, not saying that you're using the other quadrant. So you're using the other quadrant. Can I say you're using the between quadrant? We'll clear that up later on, I have to think about that. Okay, so now I'm turning, I used the other quadrant, okay? I can't say it's the between quadrant because between quadrant is like this. It's just both. The other one is like this. So I'm actually going from there to there, but I'm a use. So that's called a use, the other quadrant. The reason why it's important because it's in this other part of the dance, okay? So let me do how he does the what you call him. And it seems so complicated, but that's all that's happening is this, okay? And what happens is your whole other structure just follows what you're doing, okay? Okay? So now we're gonna do like that. We utilize, we're back on the right quadrant, okay? We're back on the natural quadrant, and we're gonna do that part of the dance, okay? And remember, it goes through all the quadrants when he does this. So it's okay? So we got that part of the dance. But then he goes like, wait. It goes like, wait, see if I can, like that, okay? But it goes like this, but we're not gonna do that. We're going one thing at a time. It's gonna take a long time, but we have to do it this way. So we did a use, remember? It looks really complicated, but it's a use. That's all. And then he goes like this, okay? So that's a use, a use, a use, okay? A use, a use, okay? And I'm gonna go back with the other one. Let me see if I can. I'm trying to do it on the other one, okay? I don't know if I can do it on the other one, but I know I can do it on this one, okay? And I should be able to do it on this other one. I'm gonna try and do it on the other leg, okay? See. Yeah, it's like that, okay? Okay, so it's using, okay? So we furthered the dance a little bit, and that's it for now. And I explained everything I was supposed to explain, and we're gonna go from there. Thank you very much, bye-bye.